The exile and adaptation. The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Commander Maya Chen sat in the United Earth Council chamber, surrounded by the 23 representatives of humanity's nations, as the holographic emissary of the Galactic Conclave delivered their verdict. By unanimous decision of the Conclave's High Council, the species designated as human is hereby restricted to their home solar system, effective immediately. All extrasolar colonies are to be evacuated within one standard cycle. Any human vessel found beyond the designated boundary will be considered in violation of Conclave law and subject to immediate neutralization. The alien diplomat, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin that shifted between blue and green, showed no emotion as it delivered humanity's sentence. Its 6 eyes blinked in perfect sequence, the only indication that it was more than a recording. The reasons for this decision are as follows: excessive aggression, unpredictable social development, technological advancement without corresponding ethical evolution, and potential destabilizing influence on galactic peace. This decision is final and binding under Article 7 of the Galactic Compact. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Commander Chen was the first to speak. "They can't be serious. We have 16 colonies, over 2 million people living outside Seoul." "They're very serious," replied Ambassador Rodriguez, the only human who had ever set foot on the Conclave homeworld. "I've warned you all for years. The older species fear us. They see our adaptability as a threat." "What about our trade agreements, our research partnerships?" asked the European representative. "All void," Rodriguez said. "As of right now, humanity is alone." The first year after the exile decree, as it came to be known, was the hardest. The forced evacuation of humanity's colonies strained Earth's resources to the breaking point. Food shortages became common. Energy rationing was implemented globally. The sudden influx of 2 million colonists created a housing crisis unprecedented in human history. But humans had always been at their best when backed into a corner. Commander Maya Chen, now appointed as Earth's defense director, stood in the underground facility that had once been NORAD, looking at the readouts from their sensor network. The Conclave had established a monitoring perimeter at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Any human ship attempting to cross would be detected and, according to their decree, destroyed. "They're watching us suffer," Chen said to Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, the brilliant physicist who had been recalled from Europa when the decree came down. "They're waiting for us to beg for readmission to their precious conclave." Nakamura nodded, his weathered face grim in the blue light of the monitors. "Then we must disappoint them, Commander." "How?" "They've cut us off from 90% of our raw materials. We can mine the asteroid belt, but that's barely enough to maintain our current technology levels, let alone advance." Nakamura smiled for the first time in months. "That assumes we follow the same technological path they expect us to." The conclave species all evolved along similar lines. Their technologies are variations on the same themes. But humans, we're the outliers. "What are you suggesting?" "That we take a different path entirely. One they won't be looking for because they can't conceive of it." 3 years after the decree, the first breakthrough came. In a laboratory beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Nakamura and his international team achieved what the Conclave had deemed impossible: stable quantum entanglement on a macroscopic scale. The Conclave abandoned this research centuries ago, Nakamura explained to the United Earth Council. "They determined it was a theoretical dead end. But they think linearly. We don't." "What does this mean in practical terms?" asked Director Chen. "It means we can transmit information instantly, regardless of distance. No signals that can be detected or blocked. The foundation for a new kind of FTL communication." "And travel?" asked the African Union representative. "Eventually," Nakamura said cautiously. "But that's years away. For now, this gives us something more important: the ability to coordinate without the Conclave knowing." The Council unanimously approved the Quantum Network Project, codenamed HFY. Within 18 months, every major research facility on Earth and throughout the solar system was connected by unhackable, undetectable quantum channels. The conclave continued their surveillance, unaware that humanity had already broken their first chain. 8 years after the decree, Earth had changed in ways that would have been unrecognizable to pre-exile humans. The scarcity of traditional resources had driven innovation in recycling and materials science. Almost nothing was wasted. Everything was repurposed. The closed ecosystem of the solar system had forced humanity to perfect sustainable technologies they had only theorized about before. Orbital solar arrays provided abundant clean energy. Asteroid mining had become an art form, extracting not just metals but water and organic compounds from the ancient rocks. But the most dramatic changes had happened inside human bodies themselves. Commander Chen, now 62, but looking decades younger, stood in a laboratory on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Through the reinforced viewing panel, she watched as Dr. Elena Santos demonstrated the latest generation of nanites. They're completely organic, Santos explained, based on modified human cells, but programmed at the genetic level. They can repair radiation damage, regulate body temperature, even synthesize certain nutrients from basic compounds. The conclave banned this technology, Chen observed. For themselves, yes, they had unfortunate experiences with synthetic biology. Their physiology couldn't handle the integration, but human immune systems are remarkably adaptable. And the enhancement capabilities. Santos hesitated. Substantial. The soldiers in the ARIS program can already survive hard vacuum for up to 8 minutes. They can endure radiation levels that would kill an unmodified human in seconds, and their reaction times are superhuman, Chen finished. We're still human, Santos said firmly. Just adapted to our new reality. Chen nodded. And the conclave has no idea. Their sensors are designed to detect their kinds of technology. This isn't on their radar. Literally. 15 years after the decree, humanity had settled into its confinement. To outside observers, Earth appeared to have accepted its fate, a civilization making the best of its limited resources, focusing inward rather than outward. The conclave's monitoring had grown routine, almost perfunctory. Their patrols along the boundary were predictable, their sensor sweeps following the same patterns year after year. They saw what they expected to see, a chastened species learning its place in the galactic order. They didn't see the massive construction projects hidden within the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. They didn't detect the quantum-shielded laboratories where humans were developing technologies that worked on principles the conclave had never explored. And they certainly didn't notice when humanity began to extend its reach beyond the solar system, not with ships, but with microscopic quantum-entangled probes that carried human consciousness to the stars. Through these whispers, as they came to be called, humanity explored dozens of nearby star systems without ever leaving Sol. They built detailed maps of resources, catalogued potential colony worlds, and most importantly, studied the other species that had been deemed too primitive by the conclave and placed under similar restrictions. Director Chen, now officially retired but still involved in every major decision, was meeting with the current United Earth Council when the alert came through. The quantum network lit up with an urgent signal from a whisper probe in the TAS-CD system. "We have a situation," announced Admiral Kwame Okonkwo, Chen's successor. "A ship has entered the TAS-CD system being pursued by conclave security vessels. It's sending out a distress signal on all frequencies." "Conclave civil matter," said the European representative. "Not our concern." "The ship isn't conclave," Okonkwo replied. "According to our whisper, it's Meridian." A murmur ran through the council. The Meridians were one of the species the conclave had restricted even before humans made contact with galactic civilization. Insectoid beings with a highly decentralized social structure, they had been deemed too unpredictable for integration. "They must have broken through their quarantine," Chen said. "How did they manage that?" Unknown, but the Conclave forces are gaining on them. Whatever they've done, they won't escape. Unless we help them, said Dr. Santos, now the science director. The council chamber fell silent. That would reveal capabilities we've kept hidden for 15 years, the North American representative warned. It would also establish contact with another species the Conclave fears, Chen countered. Potentially an ally. Admiral Okonkwo looked at the quantum feed. We need to decide quickly. The Meridian ship is damaged. They won't last another hour. Chen stood, her augmented body still strong and commanding despite her years. I've spent 15 years watching humanity rebuild from the ashes of the Conclave's decree. We've survived. We've adapted. But we've been reactive, not proactive. Maybe it's time to change that. The council vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. For the first time since the exile decree, humanity would reveal that they had not been as contained as the Conclave believed. As the quantum signal went out, carrying instructions to the hidden facility on Europa that housed humanity's greatest secret, Chen couldn't help but smile. The Conclave had meant to clip humanity's wings. Instead, they had taught them to build new ones. The rescue of the Meridian ship would be humanity's first step back onto the galactic stage. And this time, they wouldn't be asking for permission. The return and revolution. The Meridian ship tumbled through the Ta-Ceti system, trailing debris and radiation. Its hull, an organic metallic composite unlike anything in human engineering, was ruptured in multiple places. The 3 Conclave pursuit vessels closed in, their weapons charged and ready to eliminate what they considered an unauthorized intrusion into controlled space. None of them detected the quantum fluctuation that rippled through subspace. The first sign that something had changed was when the lead Conclave ship's sensors went dark. Then its engines failed. By the time the captain realized they were under attack, the other 2 ships had also been neutralized. From the perspective of the desperate Meridians, it seemed as if their pursuers had simply stopped functioning, left adrift in space. Then a new signal reached their communications array, using an old frequency that predated Conclave standardization. Meridian vessel, this is the Earth ship Prometheus. Stand by for assistance. The Prometheus didn't technically exist, at least not according to any Conclave registry. The sleek, midnight black vessel materialized from what appeared to be empty space, its quantum phase shields rendering it effectively invisible until it chose to be seen. Captain Ava Sato stood on the bridge, her crew, all enhanced with the latest generation of nanites, working with the efficient precision that came from years of training for this exact scenario. Meridian vessel is not responding to hails, reported her communications officer. Their systems may be incompatible with ours, Sato replied. Maintain position and continue broadcasting on all frequencies. Ready rescue teams. On her command screen, she could see that the Conclave ships were already attempting to restart their systems. The quantum pulse weapons had bought them perhaps 20 minutes before the aliens could send a distress call. Just enough time. The rescue operation took 17 minutes. The Meridian ship carried 8 crew members, each nearly 7 feet tall with chitinous exoskeletons and compound eyes that reflected light in hypnotic patterns. They were injured but alive, and they offered no resistance as the human teams brought them aboard the Prometheus. Captain Sato met them in the specially prepared quarantine bay. Though humans had studied the Meridians through whisper probes, this was the first direct contact between their species. I am Captain Ava Sato of Earth, she said as the translation software attempted to convert her words into something the aliens could understand. We've neutralized your pursuers temporarily, but we need to leave this system immediately. The tallest Meridian stepped forward, its mandibles clicking in what humans would later learn was a gesture of respect. Earth, it said, the word distorted but recognizable through its own translation device. Quarantine-kin. We seek sanctuary. Before Sato could respond, the tactical alert sounded. Captain, Conclave reinforcements have entered the system, her first officer reported. Estimated time to intercept, 12 minutes. Initiate quantum fold, Sato ordered. Take us home. The Prometheus and its Meridian refugees vanished from Ta Ceti, spaced moments before the Conclave battle cruiser arrived. By the time the confused pursuit vessels could report what had happened, that humans had somehow broken quarantine and possessed technology the Conclave had deemed impossible, Earth was already preparing for the consequences of its first open defiance. The Meridian delegation stood before the United Earth Council 3 days later. After initial communication difficulties, the humans and Meridians had discovered a shared mathematical basis that allowed for more complex translation. "We thank Earthkin for rescue," said Vexstar, the lead Meridian scientist. "Our mission was desperate gamble, worth great risk." "What were you trying to accomplish?" asked Admiral Okonkwo. "To find others like us, restricted by Conclave." The alien's compound eyes shifted, focusing on different council members in sequence. "Conclave lies. Tells each restricted species they alone are dangerous. Creates isolation." Director Chen, present as an observer, leaned forward. "You were looking specifically for us, for any who might resist. We detected anomalies. Energy patterns at edge of your system, not Conclave technology. Something new." Vexstar's mandibles clicked rapidly. "We hoped. We were right." "The Whisper probes," Dr. Santos whispered. "They detected the quantum signatures." "But how did you break through your own quarantine?" asked Chen. "Meridians, not like humans, not like Conclave. We think differently." Vexstar made a gesture with its upper limbs. "Conclave watches space between stars, watches energy, watches technology, does not watch life." It took several hours of careful translation and explanation before the humans fully understood. The Meridians hadn't built ships to escape their confinement. They had grown them. Living vessels with biological FTL capabilities that the Conclave's technology-focused sensors hadn't been programmed to detect. "We evolved," Vexstar explained. "As you evolved. Different paths. Same destination." By the day's end, humanity had gained its first ally in 15 years of isolation. More importantly, they had confirmed what many had suspected. The Conclave's policy of quarantine wasn't about protecting galactic peace. It was about controlling species with the potential to challenge their dominance. The Conclave's response came swiftly. Within a week, the monitoring presence around the solar system had tripled. New weapon platforms were deployed at strategic points, and patrol ships constantly swept the boundary zone. Admiral Okonkwo stood in the command center beneath Olympus Mons on Mars, watching the tactical display with Director Chen and Captain Sato. "They're preparing for a full incursion," Okonkwo said. "They mean to punish us for the Ta Ceti incident." "Let them try," Sato replied, her enhanced eyes narrowing. "The quantum defense grid is fully operational. If they cross the line, they'll find we're not the same humans they quarantined 15 years ago." Chen studied the Conclave formations. "They're being cautious. They don't know the extent of our capabilities. That uncertainty is our advantage." "For now," said Okonkwo. "But eventually, they'll move against us. We need to decide if we're going to wait for that or take the initiative." The quantum network alert interrupted their discussion. The signal originated from one of humanity's deepest whisper probes, stationed near the Conclave homeworld itself. The message was brief but alarming. "Massive energy signature detected. Unknown classification. Approaching Conclave capital system at FTL speeds. Conclave forces mobilizing." Chen looked at the others. "It seems the Conclave has bigger problems than us." The threat that emerged from deep space didn't come with ultimatums or declarations of war. It didn't respond to communications or show any interest in negotiations. It simply appeared at the edge of inhabited space, a vast, dark mass that consumed energy and matter with equal indifference. Through their whisper network, humans observed as the entity destroyed 3 Conclave outposts in rapid succession. The Conclave's weapons seemed ineffective against it. Their shields failed when exposed to its presence. It wasn't a ship or a fleet in any recognizable sense, more like a living wound in space-time itself. The humans called it the Abyss. The Conclave called it extinction. 2 months after its first appearance, with 7 systems already lost, a transmission reached Earth on all frequencies, a desperate broadcast from the Conclave High Council itself. To all sentient species of the galaxy, known and unknown, we face an unprecedented threat to all life. The High Council hereby suspends all quarantine restrictions. We call upon all civilizations to unite against this common enemy. Detailed information follows on secure channels. Admiral Okonkwo presented the message to the United Earth Council with a grim expression. "They're losing. Badly. And now they want our help," said the African representative, after 15 years of forced isolation. "Not just ours," Chen pointed out. "They're calling to everyone, including other quarantine species." Dr. Santos, who had been analyzing the data the Conclave had shared, spoke up. "The entity they're fighting, it's unlike anything in our records. It appears to operate on quantum principles that even our research has only begun to explore. It's as if it exists partially outside normal space-time." "Can it be stopped?" asked Okonkwo. "I don't know," Santos admitted. "But I do know the Conclave doesn't have the theoretical framework to even understand what they're fighting. Their technology is powerful, but predictable, linear, and humans think differently," Chen said, echoing Nakamura's words from years earlier. As do the Meridians, and probably every other species the Conclave decided was too unpredictable to join their precious consensus. The debate lasted for days. Some argued that humanity should remain isolated, let the Conclave face the consequences of their own policies. Others pointed out that if the Abyss wasn't stopped, Earth would eventually face it alone. In the end, Director Chen's argument proved decisive. The Conclave wanted a galaxy of predictable, manageable species. They quarantined those of us who didn't fit their model. Now they're facing something truly unpredictable, and their carefully ordered systems are failing. This isn't just about revenge or justice. This is about proving our worth, showing the galaxy what humanity can contribute when we're allowed to innovate on our own terms. Earth's response to the Conclave was brief. "We will help, on our terms." The Conclave reception station orbiting their capital world was designed to impress and intimidate, a massive structure of gleaming metal and crystalline towers that housed the diplomatic corps of over 300 member species. It had never received a human delegation before. It had certainly never received anything like the vessel that materialized directly inside its security perimeter, bypassing all detection systems. The Eclipse was Earth's flagship, a quantum phase cruiser that incorporated both human and Meridian technology. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its propulsion system left no energy wake, no radiation signature, nothing that conventional sensors could detect. When Captain Sato led her delegation into the Conclave's grand chamber, the assembled alien representatives fell into an uneasy silence. Many had never seen a human in person before. None had ever seen humans like these, enhanced beings whose eyes glowed faintly with the neural interfaces that connected them to their ship and to each other. High Chancellor Vorlath of the Conclave rose from the central podium. The ancient being, a member of one of the galaxy's oldest species, regarded the humans with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. "Earth has answered our call," Vorlath announced to the assembly, "despite our past differences." "We're not here because of your call," Sato replied, her voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. "We're here because the threat you face will eventually reach our home, and we have a solution you don't." Murmurs spread through the alien representatives. The arrogance of these humans to claim they could solve what the combined scientific expertise of 300 advanced civilizations could not. "You have 15 years of isolation," one representative called out. "We have millennia of unified development." "And that's your problem," came a new voice. Dr. Elena Santos stepped forward, her silver hair contrasting with her youthful, enhanced features. "You developed along one path. Consensus-driven, risk-averse, Prioritizing stability over innovation, you created a technological monoculture. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. This entity you call the Devourer, we've analyzed its structure through our quantum network. It doesn't originate from our universe. It exists as a quantum superposition across multiple probability states. Impossible, declared the Conclave's chief scientist. Such theories were disproven cycles ago. By your methods, Santos countered, which are based on assumptions that work perfectly well within your technological paradigm. But she gestured to include not just the humans, but the Meridian representatives who had accompanied them. We were forced to find different paths. Captain Seto stepped forward again. The quarantine species have developed technologies based on principles your science doesn't recognize. Together, we've created a quantum resonance weapon that can disrupt the entity's cohesion, forcing it to retreat to its own reality. Together, Vorlath repeated, you've been in contact with other restricted species. We've established the Alliance of Independent Worlds, Seto confirmed. Earth, Meridia, Voral, Nyx, and 6 other systems you deemed too unpredictable for your conclave. While you were building walls to keep us contained, we were building bridges to each other. The chamber erupted in shouts and accusations. Security drones moved closer to the human delegation. Vorlath raised a gnarled hand for silence. You violated the most sacred laws of the conclave. You developed forbidden technologies. You interfered with other quarantine species. And now we're your only hope, Chen said, stepping forward. Though officially retired, the former director had insisted on joining this historic mission. So the question is, does the conclave adapt, or does it perish? The battle against the Abyss unfolded over the next 6 months. The Alliance fleet, ships from Earth, Meridia, and the other formerly quarantined worlds, deployed alongside the massive but less advanced Conclave Armada. The quantum resonance technology worked, but not as quickly or decisively as the humans had hoped. The entity learned, adapted, found ways to resist their attacks. It cost thousands of lives and dozens of ships before the combined forces finally drove it back to the dimensional rift from which it had emerged. When it was over, the galaxy had changed irrevocably. The Conclave's authority, already undermined by their failure to contain the quarantine species, was further weakened by their inability to address the crisis without help. 1 year after the defeat of the Abyss, representatives from all known sentient species gathered on neutral ground, a once barren world that humans and Meridians had terraformed together during their secret alliance. Chancellor Vorlath, looking far older than when the humans had first met him, addressed the historic assembly. For too long, the Conclave has pursued stability at the cost of growth. We sought to control that which cannot and should not be controlled, the natural diversity of thought and innovation that is the true strength of sentient life. He turned to where the human delegation sat alongside their alliance partners. We owe our survival to those we tried to silence. This is a debt that cannot be repaid with words alone. Therefore, the High Council proposes the dissolution of the Conclave in its current form, to be replaced by a new Galactic Federation, where all species, regardless of their evolutionary path or technological approach, have equal voice. The proposal passed, though not without opposition from some of the oldest Conclave members. Earth and its allies accepted the new arrangement cautiously, insisting on provisions that guaranteed technological sovereignty for all member worlds. As the assembly concluded, Director Chen, now formally serving as Earth's ambassador, found herself approached by Vorlath in a quiet corridor. You could have let us fall, the ancient alien said. After what we did to Earth, many of your people wanted that. Chen studied him for a moment. Revenge is a luxury that costs too much. Humans learned that lesson long before we reached the stars. Your species evolved more in 15 years of isolation than mine has in a millennium of comfort, Vorlath observed. Perhaps there is wisdom in struggle that we have forgotten. Not wisdom, Chen corrected. Necessity. You gave us no choice but to innovate or perish. We chose innovation. And now the galaxy will benefit from your choice. The Chancellor's many eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of profound respect in his culture. What does Earth want in this new order we are building? Chen smiled, thinking of the quantum network that now spanned dozens of star systems, of the combined technologies of 10 formerly quarantined species, of the frontiers that still waited beyond known space. The same thing we've always wanted, she said. A future without limits. As she spoke, the quantum signal raced across light years, carrying her words instantly to the homeworlds of the Alliance. On Earth, crowds gathered in cities around the planet to hear the news that humanity's exile was officially over. But in many ways, the end of the quarantine was merely a formality. Earth had already broken free of its chains years ago, not by force, but by reimagining what was possible. The conclave had meant to contain humanity's potential. Instead, they had forced humanity to realize it. The stars, once denied, now beckoned. And this time, humanity would reach for them not as supplicants seeking admission to someone else's order, but as architects of a new one, founded on the principle that diversity of thought was not a threat to be managed, but the greatest resource any civilization could nurture. The exile was over. The evolution had just begun.